InShalla and Ashe, blessings to you, my energetic beings. Tonya D here, holistic Sha medium. The Sha is for the shaman in me, incorporating both indigenous technologies, not just for healing, but for all of those things that appear as forces of adversity in our earth journey. Also, the subtle energy surgeon part. I really don't like psychic surgery. I feel like it sounds kind of abrasive. So I go into the realms, to the subtle energetic fields, of course, different timelines, the ancestors in different realms or dimensions. It's truly whatever spirit is gifting me to express to you. So I created a corridor, my Musing Club, with a library to actually get you on your way. And I utilize just not cards that actually I use in my daily snippets, but I also do the cowrie shell divinations, the contemple voice, and the magic of the genies as well. But today's energy is one of galactic love. It's embracing those otherworldly pictures in a way. So our mind will actually create chaos, while our heart is actually marinating on our inner belief channel. More on that a little later. If you have subscribed to my shows, if you could echo out into the airwaves and share with your friends and your guests, that would actually be a galactic shift or change for those algorithms for me. And also, if you have yet to subscribe, when you do, please ring the bell, because with all the shifts going on at the core within those algorithms, that's just the world that we actually live in, this seen and this unseen. But today's 4 pillars brings us Yaya, or Yai, I should say, or this Yin Wood Daymaster with the goat on the branch. Our day is in need truly of some water to nurture this Daymaster. Light water, a bubbling spring. The ox and the goat are actually opposing each other in Chinese astrology. They're one's in the southwest, the other's in the northeast corner directions of a home. They do float around, quite honestly, but being that they are unfavorable in the element, they're both yin to our daymaster, there's not enough actually wood energy of the element to break down that earth energy. So what happens is they take from the wood instead of being able to nurture with water. So water for sure is definitely called for, even with all the fires that are going on around the globe. The earth herself is in discourse. So is the element of nature. So energetically, I would for sure drink half your body's weight in ounces in water on the daily. But of course, that all depends on our personal 4 element chart as well. So if you are already, or you have a constitution that's full of water, this could actually give you a boost today. And the cosmic energy itself, it's a day of really, it's one of galactic love. It's like the bigger picture and the bigger pieces that can actually fall into place. Our mind literally is on overdrive, just trying to figure out where we belong in our future, or what even that future reality even looks like. So did you wake up with a lot on your mind this morning? Or maybe you came to the realization that any topic that's marinating in your mind, or something that you might be thinking about, stems directly from your heart's channel, the prime directive of our soul story, our narrative. So it's this energy that produces a magical, intellectual, kind of creative day. However, you can burn a lot of calories, or burn at both ends, thinking about things that aren't necessarily important to your heart's channel. So it's really a day to set these things forth into action and prioritize the needs of our heart over the mental chatter going on in our mind. It's the voice inside of us. It could be the crickets in our head. Are they giving you a pep talk, or are they giving you a heart attack? So let's absolutely stick with the pep talk. So it's in our heart's narrative, our prime directive, that our mind is trying to understand this galactic picture, or the vision of our future in our heart space. So, I see a lot of people provoking the fear channel, and I'm really not one to visit that channel. I prefer to upcycle the narrative, the story, stay in the light code in a way. So we are taking all the clues from our mind today, these little pieces and those magical ideas, and we're attempting to put those pieces into a greater puzzle, a bigger picture frame. In a way, we're mastering our mind in a creation of our future. Yesterday, you might have ruled out certain directions or paths in your journey on the earth plane, and you might have had a new perspective actually open up, not just to you, but for you. Or maybe a different concept was maybe introduced. So if that happened for you, then today is a day to actually figure out the logistics, your logical channel for your intentions. So our heart might know what she wants in the future. However, our mind might be a bit clueless on how it's actually going to happen. So that's when you ultimately put it all up on the altar in the other realm, in the God space, and give it to the ghost in a way. Or, I would do it, give it to the God channel that we actually, all of us have inside of us. So it's really the best day to really recalibrate or organize our thoughts and really design a creative future that will literally light up your heart ultimately and be in congruency with those thoughts, that narrative. So we're in this mindset where we can communicate our ideas, seek advice, possibly if you feel called for that, or even outline a better foundation and the structure of our intentions. So we're in this strong, elevated space where we can actually do this. So I would suggest staying away from getting caught up in the details of actually how it's even going to happen. That actually is going to come later. Instead, really stay in the frequency and also the vision and focus on, the galactic love or the greater picture of what you're attempting actually to create. And sometimes we have to put our creation in a safe bubble, a container, because the people in our village will say one negative thought, just simply saying that you can't do that, really just anything negative, and our foundation will tower down. It'll come tumbling down. It's like the rug gets pulled out from under our feet. So if you're one of those people, like I've been in this a few times, where you feel like your opinion is not following the thread of others' narratives, you want to really stay with your own opinion. And sometimes we have to be alone in our own sacred garden and really just wash away the weeds that inflict pain in our environment. And people generally, they don't like it when we have a different opinion than the one they have. So sometimes it's unnecessary to get involved in their opinion because it's going to take away your thread, your future. So our mind is actually supported today by two voices or different narratives. One is our feelings. Our feelings have to resonate with the direction that our mind or our thoughts are taking us on this path and this journey. And it's also, more importantly, that our heart ultimately believes in our faith channel, our beliefs, our higher, our Sira, that what we are coming up with is absolutely possible. It's infinitely designed this way, according to what our heart authentically believes inside of us. And we carry that forward in the day-to-day. So if these two voices inside of us merge, then it's absolutely time to move forward, kind of like throwing your fishing line out to the river or the ocean, whatever, into the thinking. So our mind, or mine in general, it's reworking these different threads with these different fishing lines for a greater vision for what to think. So the logic I use, or a higher intellectual kind of property, I intend literally to create. That's my intention, right? But for it to work, my heart has to fully believe in the idea that I want to manifest to actually bring it into fruition. Plus, you also have to have the village that you're surrounded with online as well. So myself, I'm in the middle of processing all of these long-term shifts and changes and transformation. It's absolutely esoteric for me, but I'm aware that my feelings on that grid line know the truth. So ultimately for you, the goal is to think through the creative, more heart-synced, heartfelt options that you actually have for the future, the unlimited possibilities. Anything that's based on a condition will take out your heart as well. So stay in the unconditionals and find the better approach that actually works for you. So also today, you might find that your mind is made up by the end of the day, but it's actually going to take a few more days to feel. Okay, so it says I'm online. It's always got to be something, right? So back to the point is, we need to fill it out for a few days and just allow ourselves to think freely, like with no conditions about the thoughts. So it's okay if you're not sure for sure, actually in the moment. So these are processors that we all have that are actually online, a narrative of our mind. So my mind is made up to live in joy, happiness, peace, and integrity with my love channel online. That's like where I go to every day in different aspects. Yesterday, we had a shift in our old timeline. So we're receiving this new narrative, a docket for today in our information channel. That's the form it's coming into. But in order to receive the memo, we literally have to listen. So the challenge comes from it not matching up with what we actually had in mind. So authentically, it's time to contemplate. Ultimately, our heart story, it knows the truth. So it's time to envision a new creative plan for our future. So the energy is both intellectual, but it's also highly creative, and they're both online today. So what's happening is our vision sets this new quality or a degree for staying in the frequency of unconditional love and staying in those molecules of joy. But, how do we do this? So ultimately, by adding a plan to become something different that you might have never imagined before, become something different in the moment. This is because the energy that you put forth or forward is the energy that we ultimately become. So it really is time to be open to the change, the shift, the transformation. We have a powerful energy, a conduit that actually heightens and also grounds spiritual communication. So you can use elements like crystals or metals to assist in just purifying and also aligning all of the subtle bodies with the physical and also balance those yin and yang energies, which then leads to optimum well-being. So our solar plexus is actually online today. So it's any color of yellow, could be beiges, even browns. Those are tonalities of yellow, or you can bring indigo as well, just to open us up to those just brilliant cascading ideas that come floating in, kind of like from cloud nine in a way. So I'm going to be creating tomorrow's podcast later today in my Musing with Tonya D, my podcast. And also this magical full moon, it's a double whammy. We've had 2 in Aquarius. So it's really pretty exciting to see where we have come from the last full moon in the early stages of Leo to this next full moon at the end stages of Leo. I almost said the new moon, but it's this new full moon, I guess. So the seed sound of the day is Ram. It's like the Ah in Father with the M on the end. So it's our willpower and our courage that really comes online. So if you feel called and need to step into your personal will chamber, your own self-esteem, I would chant Ram today, like the Ra as in Father, and end with the M. The Archangels of today are the ones that I was called to. Zadkiel is the righteousness of God. This is both the angel of mercy and also forgiveness. So he remembers everything, including the origins of our universe. So the fact that we're shifting our universal threads and our visions and a better future, he can also assist us in remembering everything as well, including our divine blueprint, our origin. So you can call in this angelic being to literally remember your life purpose, your prime directive, your reason for living and being in Earth School. He can also help us selectively, like, only remember the love channel, which ultimately is forgiveness in that channel. So in doing this, it actually helps us to have a recall of compassion, our true state of being, authentically who we really are in reality. What's also curious is he helps to assist any healing of painful memories, but also in increasing our self-esteem, because he helps us to recall our own personal strengths and our natural talents or abilities, whatever those look like. We all have them. So I would call him in to actually bring those creative details for the future visioning that we are actually creating, the world where we are heading into authentically a new world of light energy. I mean, everyone's kind of talking about this. So it's really a frequency of love over fear, the narrative. I'd also call in Metatron. I love Metatron, to be quite honest. I call him in a lot to get really to the inner voice and activate that inner voice to take out into the quantum realm, the sacred geometry, just moving our beingness beyond our human limitations. The world kind of limits us in these systems and these programs and patterns and so much more. And what happens is he opens the corridor into that future as well. So that's why I would really call in Metatron to bring in those galactic ideas that are often otherworldly. It gets us out of the narrative. Raguel, I would call Raguel in as well. He's the friend of God, the peacekeeper. He'll assist us in holding space and time, especially when our opinion might be different than somebody else's. He really helps in the restoring of balance of power on the planet, our collective freedoms. He's really like this peace and freedom channel. And we definitely need him right now, especially with this current experience on the earth plane. I would call him in to shift that narrative, quite honestly. Now, today, the card of the day actually took me a minute or two. I honestly couldn't decide what deck to use. Or decks, for that matter, since we're shifting into a different timeline or dimension between not just heaven and earth, the galactic corridors, kind of how I see that. It's kind of space and also earth to heaven. So it's like these two channels. But I went with my fairy deck, and I also went with this elemental forces of creation deck. So I went with two. I had to decide. So I didn't decide. I just went with two, which is awesome. So since we're creating our vision for a new future, this character here, he's called the Pook, P-O-O-K. He's literally a shape changer or a shape shifter. So it's like the good and the bad and the good kind of being at a different paradox and finding a resolution. He actually appears in whatever guise that he thinks would be the most confusing to us, depending on his purpose, which I found was kind of curious. He weaves kind of spells to kind of, kind of be beyond the muse of our senses and confuse our judgment in a way. He's also a master of the arts of illusion or delusion. He's holding up this distorting mirror to reveal literally the bad and the good and the bad. The Pook, he also wishes to show us the bad in what we think to be good, and also vice versa. So it's those two narratives that go on in the mirror. So ultimately, this might confuse us even further, or it might even help us to gain a more balanced understanding of how things truly are authentically. He's very against like rigid, controlling mindsets. And in his own way, what he's doing is he's encouraging us to develop the objectivity of being an inquiring mind, to staying curious and not being afraid of and asking the questions, the ones nobody wants to deal with. So I really feel like he's actually fitting for a day like today. Fairies they'll really trip us up to give us a new perspective on the world and in the world. So ultimately, it's time for these resolutions of these appearing contradictions or different paradoxical situations. Someone or maybe some part of a situation is really kind of cloaked in confusion. It might be muddling our thoughts, and those need to be just stripped away in a way, revealing truth. So we just need to think about that. So the information that we need is now kind of available to us. That gateway is open. And as soon as we have a burst of insight and we actually get it, so it's time to make those changes based on having this new vision that's clear and understanding. But alternatively as well, it also might be the time for a reality check. The reality check on the good or the bad labeling. We have a lot of labels that we put on things. I would literally make a list of the good, possibly even different surprising things about different situations, or also, you want to make another list about the bad things. So if you're not in the habit of seeing the good in the bad and the bad in the good, preferring the black and the white world rather than the world with color, you might need some help in learning how to do this. So it's always better to add color to situations. It shines light on things. That's kind of how I see that. Now, the other card I thought was curious. I found this in, like I said, it's the elemental forces of creation. It's spirit. Spirit is the connection to the divine, the galactic universe. It really is the spark of light or spirit inside of us. It's really our connection to the goddess or the god or whatever you want to call it, the divine source energy. So this connection to spirit is also where the energy of creation lives. So it's amazing that I even pulled this card today, kind of interesting on its own galactic corridor. But our inner connection to spirit is seriously guiding us throughout life all the time to bring our wholeness, our one essence, into full expression out into the world. So spirit authentically really is this rich substance, this energy that flows through and connects all of the elements. And it enables these elements to hold our world in form, in matter. So in both our inner and also those outer realms. So it's this unseen ingredient where the elements actually work together in any type of creation. I love the elemental realm, but I like all the other realms as well, to be honest. But, just even imagine yourself just sitting quietly in nature or reflect on your inner innate nature. And we can really feel the substance of our own personal spirit, our spirit. So with this card being active and receptive within the world, we have the active and the receptive principles kind of as a function in co-creating with harmony. So, it's the way where we have the sun and the moon, the night and the day. They really all work in union and also with one another, even though they kind of oppose. It demonstrates these two principles in motion. And we need both of them. So the active energy of the sun provides the light for our outer activity, and the receptive from the moon or the inner allows us the time to turn inward, literally, and rest. So the moon itself is yin, and the sun is actually the yang. We have the masculine, we also have the feminine. So we all carry both of these within us. So it's important to actually learn to go inwardly in our world with the movement of both of these energies. So, how do you need to balance your active and your receptive energies? It's like the push and the pull, or do you need more activity or even more receptivity? It's kind of both of those in the corridor. So kind of sit with yourself. And the thing with the yin and the yang, when you go inward in your yang energy actually comes online. We always have these two forces in a container working through us, whether we're aware of it or not. Like me talking right now is a yang energy. You maybe sitting in silence, that's the yin energy. So they're always in correlation. But back to the affirmations for today, which honestly resonated with me, is like, I am creating a vision for my future from being mindful of my love channel. You know, that's being sacred in your heart and being mindful through your heart space and your belief channel. That's kind of how I see that. Another one is I am in the frequency of my beliefs, creating my vision from a space of love, or just from love. I would say my love channel. So yeah, that's my spill for the day. Thanks for joining me for the daily snippet. And as always, you know, sometimes I have to go offline to come back online again. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy your day.